Hello and welcome to another edition of the Father and Son Pastime podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Kevin.
That's my dad.
How are you?
How you doing? We have had a little break of doing these podcasts. We've been watching some baseball. One of us have been on the injured list.
Yes, right.
Um,
I'm doing fine, by the way.
yes, he's fully recovered, clearly playing again.
Yes.
He's ready to do another podcast. For those just joining us, we are about 7 teams left of fully completing our very, very epic adventure of doing a deep dive on every single MLB team's dream team or a fantasy team, all-time team, whatever you want to say. And today's team is the Toronto Blue Jays. So we're very excited. This is our, obviously, only international team, our Canadian friends up north.
I was just about to say that.
Yes. So we're very excited to talk about the Blue Jays. They've been a team in baseball since the 70s. So they're going on, they'll hit 50 years soon, but they're just about to, they're getting middle-aged, if you will.
Yeah, they've had good years and bad years.
Yeah, 2 World Series back-to-back, which is always a very hard thing to do in any sport. So
that's right.
Definitely need some applause there. If you're a Blue Jays fan just joining us and you want to learn more about, what are these parameters of this podcast? So look at that, more P's. We're doing a lot of alliteration today. So you have to be on the Blue Jays for at least 3 years to earn credit for being on the team as part of it. You can't just have one great year. Someone comes to mind is Roger Clemens, who had a 1 year, one year stint of being a Blue Jay,
and he was very good that year.
Exactly. So you couldn't use him. You'd have to have someone at least that dedicated 3 years of their career to the team. We go through each position. We include the DH. We do a starter, reliever, closer, and for the fun of it, we talk about your best manager as well as our favorite logo. So we end kind of on a silly note because we're a silly father and son duo. We ping pong. We go back and forth. Dad, would you like to start with catcher?
I would love to.
Go ahead. Let's jump into it. Thanks for watching.
For the catcher, I have Russell Martin.
Really?
Yes, I do. I went through the research and all that stuff, and I think Russell was there during their runs for the championship years and everything else. Well respected, and the more research I did, the higher on the list he came, so he got my vote.
I like Russell Martin. I do. He is not... I don't think he'd be my backup. I think I'd pick Pat Borders as my backup, just due to the 92, 93. But Ernie Whitt.
I had Ernie as number 2.
There you go. I just think they don't have a star catcher. I'm not bashing on any of these people, but they probably wouldn't be a fantasy team on any other team besides the Blue Jays, any of these names we've mentioned.
Yeah.
But Ernie, I believe, had the longest service time out of those 3 people we've mentioned. And if, again, you're a very long-time subscriber, I appreciate our 18 subscribers. And most of those are my friends. Well, I don't know what I was going to say there.
Catcher. Ernie Whitt.
Oh, I typically choose someone who has longevity with the team in a situation where a clear star doesn't emerge. So that's why I went with Ernie.
Yeah, Russell was better offensively.
For sure, absolutely, yeah.
And I think I went through a lot of offensive players during the whole list, so I capped it with Russell, and I tell you, he found himself as a Blue Jay, and then parlayed that into really nice contracts when he left Toronto.
Yeah.
So, again, I just think that during the championship years, he was one of the glue guys.
Okay. Moving on to first base, I'll go now. I got to go with my man Carlos Delgado. I think he's probably one of the most underrated first basemen and obviously Blue Jays ever. Almost 500 home runs, 473 total, and he was only an All-Star twice.
Yeah,
really, what was happening?
When I went through the all-time list of great Blue Jays and all that stuff, Olerud was like always in the top 10, 12, all that. Carlos was way down the list. I don't know why, but you're correct. I have Carlos as well. But if you ask an ordinary baseball fan, I'm thinking they're going to choose Olerud over Delgado all the time. But he's the one that was a 3, 4, 5 guy through their great years, and I think he was overshadowed by some of the stars. But again, I'm with you with Delgado. He got my vote as well.
We're going to do something at the end once we're done all teams, just to think about when you think of a team, when you think of the Boston Red Sox, the New York Yankees, the Toronto Blue Jays, what player comes to mind? For me, it's Delgado. Maybe that's just because I grew up watching him.
Yeah, great pull hitter.
Yeah, I just thought that such a high RBI total, too.
Yeah.
It's a shame that he's not in the Hall of Fame. And I just think maybe playing in Toronto...
Has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. Who do you have for second?
Roberto. And, if you think about the teams, I think this is the fourth team that Roberto's gotten the nod. I think he was more of a Blue Jay and a Padre than the other teams, but you just look at them. And even in the all-decade teams, he's part of the all-decade teams, by the way.
Yeah, obviously he's one of the best second basemen of all time, and I fully believe that he's earned that both offensively, obviously with average, and defensively with the glove.
Yeah.
He was, for the Blue Jays, he was an All-Star and Gold Glover every single year. The other teams we mentioned, which we've already done, I chose him for my Orioles all-time second baseman, the Indians second baseman, and I think we debated but on the Padres.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I think I actually picked someone for the Padres just because that's where Alomar started his career. But one of the best second basemen that we've seen the past 30 to 40 years.
Yeah, and just, he had that little tarnish with the umpire and all that stuff, but I'm just saying that as far as talent, he was probably the most talented. Peter Gammons back in the 80s, if he could have started any team in baseball and any player, he chose Roberto Alomar to start his team above all the other players during that era.
Yeah.
That says a lot.
Yeah, if you're looking at the 90s, Alomar is definitely the best. You're starting second baseman in the 90s. Some people put him in that all-century team.
Yeah.
He's a consideration for best second baseman of all time.
Sandberg's probably in there as well, but I think Roberto was a better athlete.
And, speed too.
Yeah, I agree.
He's faster than Ryan Sandberg for sure.
Yeah.
Moving on to shortstop, I look at another very versatile, very highly touted defensively with Jose Fernandez. He has a true range. He played towards.
You mean Tony?
What did I say?
You said Jose.
I'm sorry. We're gonna do the Miami Marlins next, but sorry, Tony Fernandez. 4 Gold Gloves in his time as a Blue Jay. Not Jose Fernandez. Sorry, Tony Fernandez. But he played third base, a little bit of second base, and he DH'd towards the end of his career too. So I love, one of my favorite players is Ben Zobrist, and I love people that can be this versatile and good at all those positions. So Tony at shortstop. Tony.
And the other thing with Tony is he was a great offensive shortstop. He was overshadowed in that era with some great shortstops, and he really didn't get the recognition he deserved either. But as far as getting singles and all that, and I'm thinking he was the leadoff guy in their lineup. But I used to love to watch him play. He made things look effortless. He was very smooth and everything else, and he had that nice stroke. Kind of reminded me of Rod Carew with that shortened swing that used to get a lot of singles in the gaps and all that stuff. So yeah, I agree. He was, I think, the best shortstop they've had.
Who do you have for third?
Josh Donaldson.
Yes, a very recent name. The only active player on my entire roster for the all-time Blue Jays. Not currently on the Blue Jays, but just currently playing baseball.
Yeah, he made a name for himself. And he was a guy that got traded a couple times.
Yeah. And
he's a phenomenal player. I think now he's on his 4th team.
He's on the Twins now, so that's his 4th team, yeah.
Yeah. And, drafted by the Cubs. Cubs traded him.
I guess it's 5th team if you include the Cubs.
Yeah.
Even though he never played, professionally with them.
And talking about a bad, giving up on somebody, but he was drafted as a catcher.
Yeah, I know. I remember. He caught a few games with the Athletics before moving to third base.
That was probably a good move.
Yeah, definitely was. Yeah. Prolonged his career.
Yeah, and now, you're talking about, he may be in the Hall of Very Good or Hall of Fame, depending on how you look at it, but he'll end up doing way more than 400 home runs.
Yeah. You look at, and we'll get to left field next, but there's only 2 players to ever get the MVP nod for the Toronto Blue Jays, and Josh Donaldson is one of those players. You have to include Josh Donaldson, so he's my pick as well.
Yeah.
Going off that, my left fielder is the other MVP award winner for the Blue Jays in George Bell.
Didn't go Joe Carter?
No, actually, so we always talk about snubs. Joe Carter is completely off my list. I didn't even put him as DH. I know what that means to some really true Blue Jays fans from the 90s. I like Joe Carter. Hopefully I make a valid argument for you to not get mad at me.
Even with the World Series history?
Mm-hmm.
My goodness. I can see the phone ringing now.
Our hotline.
I can hear it in the background.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Wow. I left Joe Carter off completely. Maybe it's because I was born in 92, for those that can't tell. I never saw him play. I never had that affinity towards him, or really the Blue Jays, to Carlos Delgado, honestly. Huh. So I think there is some bias there, I'll be honest. But looking statistically, I'm looking at the MVP, George Bell. Joe Carter, for me, has never made any of my teams, I don't think. Even the Indians and other teams Joe Carter's been a part of, I just have always found someone better, either defensively than Carter or offensively if we're going for a DH.
Wow.
He's not in the Hall of Fame.
I agree.
And neither is George Bell, but
Yeah. And George had a great career. He played for many teams as well, but just because of the history And Big Daddy is a movie. I think that's why
Not Joe Carter.
I'm drinking Labatt's. It was all that
World
stuff.
Series.
83. I was hammered.
Who do you have as center?
Devon White.
So I don't have him. He's great defensively. I chose. Well, actually, you go first. Defend White. Why did you pick White?
Oh.
Why did you pick White over Vernon Wells?
Oh my God, that was an easy one.
Let's debate.
Devon was the leadoff guy. He was probably their center fielder for 10 years. He was one of the just steady players that I think he had many All-Star games as well. But as far as being the atypical leadoff hitter and then just getting on base with speed, he was fantastic and a great center fielder with range. And Toronto was a big ballpark.
Yeah.
So I think he was an easy vote.
So White defensively, I do think, is better than Vernon Wells with speed. Vernon Wells still had 3 Gold Gloves and he had 3 All-Star appearances, but Vernon had that power that White lacked.
True.
So I went with someone who has, I'll say, more skills. I'm not, critiquing White so much. I think he's a fantastic Blue Jay. I think he would be on like a 25-man roster of a dream team. But as a starter, I definitely give the nod to Vernon.
Okay. I mean, both are highly athletic center fielders, so I can see where your vote came from.
Yeah.
But I think Devon had a little better career, but that's okay.
Yeah. Let's see if we come together in right field. I chose Jose Bautista.
Jose?
I know. As soon as I said, that's why I tripped up on Bautista. I was like, I'm not going to say Fernandez. One thing, it goes off the rails. Who would you choose for right field?
Jose Bautista.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah, but he's twin brother Tony Bautista. But anyway, Jose was fantastic. Best bat flip on the club.
Absolutely. I love Jose Bautista.
Yeah.
I think Bautista and Odor should sell out another round 2 fight. I got money on Bautista.
Yeah, me too. But defensively, he was very good too.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of teams gave up on him, by the way.
Many teams.
Yeah.
Pirates, Orioles.
Yeah.
And then his career is 100% Blue Jays. He really never had a good season on any of those other teams.
But I think he was miscast. I think he was a third baseman.
Originally, yeah.
Yeah, he just didn't impress teams. And I'm thinking he got cut, literally released by several teams and just worked his way up through the minors, end up in right field. Great arm, and just great power.
Yeah.
So he was great.
6-time All-Star. I loved watching Bautista. I enjoy the personality. He like Puig reminds me of Bautista.
Mm-hmm.
I like those personalities. I think they're fun.
Yeah, baseball needs it.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to be an enemy of either of those guys. They're very quick to anger. But I like Bautista, and I think he definitely should. He's earned the starting right fielder job.
Oh yeah, easily.
So I know here's where we're probably going to debate DH. I don't know whose turn it is. I want you to tell me who you chose for DH.
Edwin Encarnacion.
So I think Edwin could be in the Hall of Fame. He's deep in the 400 home runs already, and he's still playing. Granted, he's in his upper 30s. Baseball's truncated this year anyways.
Yeah.
But he should get some votes.
Oh, I agree. I mean, think about clutch hitting.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a very much... Think of the lineup they had a couple years ago, the 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yep.
Unbelievable power.
Yeah. So I didn't choose Edwin. I didn't choose Joe Carter. So your fans at home, who'd I choose? Paul Molitor. So many people forget that Molitor was on the Blue Jays for 3 years. So he does hit that. He was an All-Star 2 out of 3 of those years, and he was second in MVP voting one of those years for the Blue Jays as well. So a lot of people forget about Molitor. They always think that he's a Brewer, but I know we haven't done the Brewers yet, so Molitor's always going to end up on my Brewers team. He's ended up on my Twins team for the DH slot as well, and this is sort of the back end of his career. Once he left the Brewers, he really was a big DH as well during that. He played a little bit of the outfield. In those
he was
positions.
in his 30s when he got to the Blue Jays.
But he still had an incredible year, average-wise, home run-wise, RBIs,
just
runs.
A great hitter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, again, the argument that I really thought you would choose Bell as your left fielder, and so Bell's a big snub on his list completely, not putting an MVP on there.
Well, you know why? I got a message from my friend from Wrigley Field saying, hey...
Everything's a Cub reference, Tito. I hope you enjoy the entertainment out of this and not just facts, because we're just entertainers at this point. So I didn't think we'd argue about left field at all. I thought we'd argue about DH, and my argument is that why wouldn't you choose a Hall of Famer over a non-Hall of Famer in Carter? But you put Carter in left, and you started him defensively, and then you put Edwin as a DH. So we've had a lot different on this team. I wonder if we'll reconnect in pitching.
There's only one vote.
Roy Halladay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't think, for me, it's not because of his passing. I truly believe he was the most dominant Blue Jay on that team.
Oh, I agree. When he was against Carpenter during those playoff games, it was kind of like one of the best baseball games I've ever seen
Yes.
between two pitchers
Yeah.
going pitch for pitch.
Yeah.
And I think most of those games ended up 1-0.
Yeah.
And
How could you hit
neither
him?
one wanted to give in.
Yep.
Just fantastic. And he was clutch. He was their number one starter for a long time. And I really think that he was probably the top three pitchers during that era that he was in.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He's got 2 Cy Youngs. One's with the Blue Jays. One's with the Phillies. I felt bad for Halladay because his career is kind of bookended by not getting championships. He came into the Blue Jays, in the late '90s after they won back-to-back championships, and then he came to the Phillies after they won the 2008 World Series. So
they spent all that money,
right? So it's just very interesting that the guy seems to always be kind of shadowed by championships and never got a ring. So I felt a little bad about that, but simple choice. That's who I'd give the ball to first inning.
What a competitor!
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Set up closer. You want to go for it?
If you want to, you can.
All right. I'm going to go with someone who's known for being a White Sox, but Billy Koch is my setup.
Ooh, good one.
I know, I thought so.
Good
Speed.
one.
He has also, out of all the...
Good one.
I think Blue Jays have a lot of options for relief. I think their bullpen's been overall pretty great with a few stars emerging, but they give up a lot of runs. A lot of, their ERAs are in the high 3s or 4s. That's not something you want in a dream team. I know Billy was a closer his whole life, but you got to give to Tom Henke the closing role, and Billy sets up for him.
Yeah, I had Duane Ward set up, Tom Henke closing, but Henke during the great years was very reliable. Another big man on the mound, threw very hard. But yeah, Billy was a great choice as well. So that's 3 great relief pitchers.
Yeah, that they pitching again. We have a lot of difference in our offense and our defense, but it seems to be we kind of found common ground in our pitching. Now I know we're going to disagree on manager. You're probably going to choose someone who's known. You're going to choose Gaston. You got to have a little Disney reference. I'm always going to choose a Bobby Cox. So, Bobby Cox, in my opinion, is one of the best managers I've ever seen. So it goes Cox, La Russa, Torre for me. Just the managers I've seen kind of in the 90s and early 2000s. I know who has championships, and I know who doesn't. I know who's in the Hall of Fame as a manager, and I know who isn't. So again, I'm choosing a Hall of Famer here.
Yeah, but his great careers were with the Braves.
I know. He's my manager for the Braves too, but I still think that who I want to manage this team is Bobby Cox.
That's a very good point. Cito had a better record.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think he was a steady influence, and he handled the superstars well. But I did some research, and as far as records, Cito had the best record.
Bobby Cox has a better winning percentage, though.
Right,
but he's obviously won less games.
Correct.
Again, either argument, I don't think there's a third choice here. I'm a big John Farrell guy, but I don't think you're going to choose John Farrell.
No.
But one of those two guys is respectable. I think the Blue Jays are really coming for me now. Good thing there's like a border between us right now. We're in Maryland. I know I've probably pissed you off with not choosing a lot of 92, 93 guys, including your manager. But let's talk about your logos. I love all these logos. You've had some really fun logos.
I'm going to call Joe Carter myself.
Okay, you called. If he picks up for you, let me know. So I love, obviously, the colors. I love the use of the maple leaf in a lot of these, but I'm going to go with a little kind of like 2003 bird where the Blue Jays like up to no good. He's like, I'm ready for you. I really like it. What about you?
I'm going with the bottom one. I like the simplicity.
So the current one.
Yeah, I do. I like that a lot.
Okay, just the Blue Jay.
Yeah.
And the maple leaf.
And then
it
symbolizes Canada.
Yeah. So let us know your thoughts. Thank you for putting up with our entertainment as we got some of the rust off of being out for a month of doing this.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys watching. And yeah, thank you for making Canadian baseball still a thing after we lost Montreal. Being so close to DC, obviously we absorbed that Canadian franchise. So keep it going in Toronto.
Yeah.
And yeah, put some new people on this list. We'd love to see Guerrero and Nubizio and Bichette one day.
I was just about to say that. I think in 3 years, Toronto will be at the forefront of the American League East.
I hope so.
Because they have just unbelievable talent coming up. And if you saw those guys growing up and all that stuff, you can see the Blue Jays really building for the future. Yeah. They're just a couple players away, probably a couple pitchers away, than being just an extraordinary club. But the future is bright in Toronto.
Let's end on that. Thanks for watching.